When you're a runner, there's no halftime, no timeouts, no coaching adjustments. There's just the methodical rhythm of one footfall after another, enduring until the finish line.
Describe Amber Johnson in one word.
I would say joyful.
Energetic.
Rock star.
Determined. I would have used that before the accident, and I would certainly use it after the accident.
Determination endures. Amber Johnson used hers to claw her way up from the 13th runner on the roster to be a team leader by the time she left St. Teresa High School.
She saw success, she also saw hardships.
Todd Voland has known Amber for more than a decade. As an athlete on 2 state championship teams.
How ready are you to compete?
And as a fellow teacher and coach the past 3 years. But that friendship was nearly cut short more than a year ago.
It's one of those moments that I can remember almost every detail. I got a phone call from Christy Kernigan, and she said, Amber's been in an accident.
On April 29th, 2022, Amber was in a major wreck just feet away from the school. Police say another vehicle hit Amber's car going 109 miles per hour. The violent crash happened right in front of Caleb Kernigan, who returned home from his meet early.
It was devastating, honestly. To see her at that point, we were there before the first responders were. We were the first ones to the car.
First responders rushed Amber to the hospital. Voland then called Amber's fiance.
Body went numb and wasn't a whole lot of thinking. I knew that, I had to kind of compose myself and get in the car, and I called her dad.
At that moment, we didn't know if she was going to make it to the next morning.
Amber had a traumatic brain injury, 2 fractured hips, a broken wrist, and fractures in her hands. While she was in a coma, all anyone could do was endure the wait.
When she was gone, there was almost this hole in the team.
We knew that she was going to wake up at some point from her coma, just didn't know when.
When was almost 6 weeks later in June.
I remember just wanting to get up and walk.
I'm going to walk down that aisle. It's one of the first things she told me.
With the date circled on her hospital room's whiteboard.
That looked good.
Walking soon followed.
But a little bit more to the right, Amber. Yep, there you go.
Assisted steps are one thing,
Nice job.
but an army of medical professionals still had to work together to get her walking without help.
That's a lot of lost time, and just being, in a coma, not really moving, not moving at all. I mean, you lose a lot of muscle over time. If you don't use it, you lose it.
I know the saying is you have to walk first before you run, but I want to run right off the get-go.
Walking.
The walking is looking good. The strength is there.
Keep stepping.
Perfect.
Soon turned to running. And as her strength returned, so did her ability to return to the team she loves.
As soon as I started coaching, it's been a catalyst to my walking ability.
And her running ability. Caleb Kernigan, the same athlete who found her lifeless in her car, is now turning into her running coach.
Come on, coach.
Yeah, coach.
Guiding her down the track as she works on her form.
The smile on my face as she was running down that track on my side, I don't know, that's the happiest I've been in a long time.
Just like a starting gun, Amber's return echoed through the team, pushing athletes like Caleb
4:31:02.
That's insane.
and Ellie Stair to heights only Amber knew they could achieve.
I often think of her, I'll see her on the sidelines and I'm doing this because I know that she can't right now. Being able to see her there cheering you on is it's so helpful during a race because it just puts everything into perspective.
These kids have helped me a lot because they make me smile, and because I know if I were to be angry, what does that show these kids? That teaches them nothing.
With step 1 of Amber's comeback complete, it was now time to focus on the date she had circled all along.
If you'd have told me then that she would be walking down the aisle on her originally scheduled wedding date, I don't think I would have believed it.
A date, a promise Amber kept.
What are you going to feel walking down the aisle?
happiness, true happiness. I don't know if I'll ever stop smiling that day. It'll be like the concluding chapter in a book, but the intro chapter to a whole nother book.
Another finish line reached, but others still await. A return to teaching in the fall, a return to cross country, a return to normal.
Amber's race is far from over. I know from who she's been as a student and an athlete that her endurance is far greater than even she thinks it is.
And when she reaches that next finish line, expect her to go chase another, because Amber Johnson endures. Indicator Deron Molen, WAND News. It was a dreamy early winter day.
You take everything for granted and it can be gone in a second.
It was perfect until it wasn't.
Everything was gone. People screaming, buried under their houses. It was a nightmare.
Taylorville has been waking up from that nightmare for 5 years now. On December 1st, 2018, a day that was supposed to feature the town's Christmas parade turned into a frantic race to save lives.
As soon as the storm went through, the call volume just shot through the roof.
An EF3 tornado slammed into Taylorville's southwest side, leveling just about everything in its path.
The house right there, it just went straight, disappeared. This is my neighborhood.
Everything except Randy Crowder's handmade storm shelter.
We made it to the shelter, come out of the shelter a few minutes later, the whole neighborhood was gone.
Crowder built this shelter to occupy his mind after his wife told him she was pregnant.
The walls were 8 inches thick concrete.
6 years later, that project may have saved their lives.
You could hear it, you could hear the rumble and stuff, and you could hear it pecking on the door, and that was it.
I'll never forget the first call that came in from our dispatch. The address was next to this fireman's home. And he was actually working, so he responded to that area because it was the very first call and came across his own house that was just destroyed.
Nick Hackney was one of the firefighters on duty that night. The day after the storm, I caught up with him as he surveyed the damage to his home, just a few hundred feet from where Crowder took shelter.
I continued working for the night and knew I'd have to take care of it in the morning. We come together as a community and get things done.
And that's exactly what Taylorville did. In the days, weeks, and months following the storm, almost everyone was outside clearing debris, sawing logs, and surveying the damage to secure state funding.
It was just great seeing neighbor helping neighbor, neighborhoods helping other neighborhoods that might not have been quite as damaged.
The neighborhood has changed, but Crowder hasn't. He lifted his home back onto its original spot, because even if the storm shook its foundation, he didn't let it shake his.
I've lived at this area, this house right here for 16 years. You got something, you take care of it. It breaks, you fix it.
In Taylorville, Deron Molen, WAND News.
What is your favorite part of Christmas?
Presents.
Aubrey Morgan loves Christmas, almost as much as she loves her favorite show.
Do you have a favorite TV show?
Bluey.
What about Bluey is so cool?
It's funny.
But this is not where she expected to celebrate Christmas or watch episodes of Bluey.
Aubrey in October was diagnosed again with relapsed leukemia. Being here anytime is difficult, but during the holiday season, you're missing out on some family traditions that you're used to.
The Morgan family is spending their Christmas at HSHS St. John's this year, which means they won't be opening gifts underneath the Christmas tree. But thanks to your donations and a little bit of Christmas magic, kids like Aubrey won't be forgotten.
Each donation makes its way up to Santa's workshop, joining a collection of toys that rivals that of the North Pole. That's where parents like Kelsey Morgan go to work, picking up the perfect gifts to make sure the joy of the season is as resilient as their brave kids.
It kind of adds some normalcy back to this time.
Once the toys are picked, they end up here at the gift wrapping station. Volunteers like Peggy Goon spend their free time making every cut and fold count for something more.
I just hope they remember the happy times, you know, and remember that there was some good that came out of being in the hospital during this season. There's lots of people around the community that care for them and wish them the best.
Now, it's off to the good part. Here, gifts just mean more.
Is that Bluey in the cowboy hat?
As they help families like Aubrey's unwrap hope.
This is the second time that she's had to go through this. And she has a smile on her face every time we're here.
A smile that won't fade.
So are you excited to play with these?
Thanks to the kindness of strangers.
Well, Merry Christmas.
In Springfield, Deron Molen.
Fist bump. Hey, let's go.
WAND News.